Hello everyone, welcome to Chess with Ivan. Today I would like to show you a cool chess trap in the opening of the game, which will allow you to sacrifice your queen to win the game in 7 or 8 moves. And I think this video will be very teaching for beginners because it is a famous trap, it is well analyzed, and it basically shows you that you can sacrifice even a queen if the reward is even bigger. This trap has been covered by a lot of videos online, so I welcome you to go and check them out as well. But what I will try in my video is to really be as useful as possible to beginners. So we're going to cover a lot of the variations and a lot of the important things to remember. It's not so much about memorizing the exact moves of the most standard position, but it will hopefully be of use in many situations. So let's jump in. To play this trap you need to be white pieces and start with e4, and one of the most popular responses to e4 is e5. You continue with knight f3, which is again the most popular response, and black responds with knight to c6. As I mentioned earlier, the moves can be different, and we'll cover a lot of different moves that can reach the important position for the trap, but I'm just going over the main line here. So the next move you play is bishop c4, and again this is a very common move. This position is called the Italian game, or in English the gioco piano. And so far your opponent is not suspecting anything trappy, anything devious. These are very common moves, and they may respond with d6, opening their bishop. So you continue playing developing moves that bring you towards developing towards this trap, and you improve your knight. You place it on c3, and here your opponent may play bishop to g4. They might want to do that because they pin your knight, meaning your knight cannot move, or if it moves, you will lose your queen. So that is the idea behind the move bishop to g4. Now, here is the critical position for the trap, because everything you needed for it to work is in place. So you have a choice. And I will cover both of the moves that you can consider playing now, depending on whether you want your trap to work more often or if you want to play it a bit safer. You have two options. So let's see option 1, which is just jumping the gun and going for the trap. You play, even though we mentioned it's not a good idea, you don't care that the pin is on your queen, you just take this pawn on e5. And your opponent is probably very happy because now they can take your queen. So let's assume they do. Now you counterattack. So you have given up your queen, so you better have a great plan from here onwards, because you're -1 queen, you're down material, so you better have a good plan. You give a check first. So this bishop cannot be taken by the king on account of the knight protecting it. So they really have only one move. They can't go to d7 because the knight is also protecting that. So they go forward to e7. And now you use that other knight that you developed earlier and checkmate. So it comes quite unexpected because a lot needs to happen for this check to work. But currently the black king is under check and there is nowhere for it to go, so you have won the game. Can't go here because of the bishop, and here because of the bishop. As we mentioned, it can't go here or here because that knight is covering those squares, and it can't go here because that same knight is guarding that square f6 as well. And the other 3 squares are blocked by the king's own pieces. So just 2 moves ago you were down a queen, but since you knew what you were doing with this beautiful check, and especially beautiful checkmate, where these pieces that typically don't deliver checkmate work together to deliver this beautiful combination where the king is completely trapped, you have won the game. So that is the most basic form of this trap, and Hopefully when you play with a friend, if you reach a position like this, you can show them this cool trap by beating them at least once and sacrificing your queen to achieve a beautiful checkmate. However, if you do that and your opponent thinks for a second, wait a second, I'm being given a queen, there must be something suspicious going on. So they analyze a bit and they realize that taking that queen will lead into trouble. So they realize that taking back this knight is actually the best move. They ignore the free queen that is being offered because it's not really free. And now basically what you've done is you have taken a pawn, but you have lost a knight and your bishop's under attack. And you cannot take that bishop because the knight is protecting it. So you're in a bit of trouble. You need to play a move like bishop to e2 to kind of protect the queen and leave that square which is attacked by the knight. And the game goes on, but you are down a knight, so your opponent has a pretty big advantage here. It doesn't mean you're losing. I've checked the databases for games that went like that, and black won about 70% of the games, which means that you still have a fighting chance, but you are quite behind. However, I would recommend you to try this out because the idea of their move was to pin your knight. So perhaps it would work, and whenever it works you win 100% of the time because you know what you're doing and the game ends in a couple of moves. But let's look at the other option, which is definitely safer. So instead of going directly for for knight takes e5, you first play h3. A sneaky move, a move that basically asks the question to black: do you want to take my knight now and lose your bishop, or do you want to keep retreat your bishop and keep the tension on the knight? So if they take the knight, you take back, and now you cannot do this trap. The game goes on, and as white pieces, you're well developed, your pieces are out, you're soon going to be able to castle, but what you're not going to be able to do is do this cool trap, because that knight is an essential part of the trap, and now it's gone. However, if they played here, probably they wanted to keep that pin on the knight. So what they might do is play bishop to h5. And if they do that, then you can still break the pin and offer your queen. So if they take the queen, you know what you're doing. Bishop to f7, followed by king e7, and knight to d5, checkmate. However, they might have seen through that and take your knight. But the difference now, compared to just going straight for the knight move before this little pawn, is that now you can take this bishop. So things are not as bad for you as white, because before the bishop was here, so it was protected, and now it's not. So you've taken the bishop, and then that knight can take the other bishop, but luckily you have this move, queen all the way on the other side to b5. You attack the king and the knight, so when they get out of check, you take that knight. So after that whole skirmish from that position, where you gave your opponent the option to take your queen, you actually have one pawn. The knight took a pawn, and then each side lost a knight and a bishop. So things are actually working out well for white. So the downside of this, of course, is that more often than not you won't get to play this cool trap, because when you challenge that bishop, they might not play here. They might just take it and the game will go on. To recap, if you want a higher chance of jumping the trap and doing a cool checkmate, sacrifice your knight and hope that they will be greedy for a queen. And then you can show them this really cool ending with the 3 minor pieces. Now, the good thing about this is I don't think it's important to memorize this position. It's much more important to recognize opportunities in chess. So the opportunity here is that this king is very weak as it stands. So it doesn't matter that you're offering a queen, because you will be able to finish that king off very quickly. So as long as these three pieces are on those squares, this checkmate is possible, and this is what you should think about. Let me give you an example. Black doesn't have to play these moves, even though they're very common and often you will meet them. But imagine black here responded to your move with a different move. For example, they might want to, do a kingside castle. So if they did some other moves like that, you can even castle first, and then if they come to you, you can do your trap, right? It doesn't matter the exact position, but there are some critical elements that are important. So a move that black might play and ruin your position is either c6 or knight to f6. Both of these moves protect the d5 square. So if they do any of those moves, let's say first you do this and then they play this move, also a very popular opening called the two knights defense. Now if you do your plan, you will come unfortunately a bit short, because you sacrifice the knight for the queen, they take the queen, you give a check, and you think, I'm so smart, I've learned the legal trap and I'm gonna give checkmate. But this knight unfortunately guards this square. So now you're like, uh-oh, I just lost a queen, I lost a knight, I'm not gonna win this game. So whilst I wouldn't say it's important to memorize moves, you need to know when you can apply this and when you can't. So when black pieces control this square, it's not going to work. Another common response by black here is d6, to which you continue normally. And here, if, for example, black plays c6, then you can still play this move. But if you continue and try to spring this trap, you might think, okay, their king is very weak, it can't escape, I can do my trap. Then it's not going to work, because after this check, you think you're given checkmate, and then you realize, unfortunately, this game is not going to be your game. So this is what I wanted to say, and I wanted to show you an example of a game that started completely differently against a friend of mine who is now really getting into chess, but unfortunately he learned that trap the hard way. So let's see what we did with my friend. I played e4 as white, and I kind of wanted to show him this cool gambit where you sacrifice a million pawns and you develop your bishops. Is it called the Icelandic gambit? I don't know, I need to double check. But he refused to play the full version of it, which would be to go straight to take also on b2, which would allow me to take back and have like a very open game in exchange for a couple of pawns. Instead, he did this d6 move, which is also fine. Later you need to play this move at some point. And I was like, come on bro, please take my b2 pawn, I want to develop all my pieces. He was like, no, I'm gonna pin your knight. And this is when I decided that even though the game started completely different from what I showed you earlier, I can teach him a lesson. So I took this pawn, and now you can notice that we have the position that we want. These pieces are where they should be. The bishop is out and pinning. So he played the next move, which is a normal standard developing move. And I went straight for it because I thought he has never seen this trap. If he takes my knight here, I am in serious trouble. But he responded in the chat, what, bro, are you crazy? And I wrote actually, oh no, my queen, with quotation marks, thinking that might alert him that there is something going on. So his reaction to that was, takes. And 2 moves later he said, what, this is epic. So I do think it is a pretty epic checkmate if you've never seen it before. And I encourage you to try it out. Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It would mean a lot as I'm just starting this YouTube channel, and if you have any comments or questions, I would love to hear in the chat. Thanks, guys.